You may know funny man Steve Carell from The Office, but before his A-list career in Hollywood, you probably don't know that he studied and performed improv for nearly a decade at the Second City Training Center in Chicago. Second City is notorious for molding many famous stars over the years, such as John Belushi, Chris Farley, Amy Sedaris, Tina Fey, and Stephen Colbert. Each mastered the art of improvisation, or improv, a comedic live theater that's made up on the spot. This means no one skit or dialogue is ever exactly the same. For many people, performing this type of theater can seem like a daunting task. An empty stage, a beaming spotlight, and a seated crowd eagerly awaiting the show can feel overwhelming. Most would turn down the opportunity to be in the limelight. However, comedian Max Dickens almost always welcomes this invitation.
Things come out of you when you're improvising that are not filtered through the intellect, so you're genuinely surprised by what you say when you're on stage. And it's a feeling of, oh gosh, I had no idea I knew that word. I had no idea I have that opinion. I had no idea that I can play this character. It's a feeling of accessing part of yourself that is unreachable off stage.
Dickens is a London-based comedian, improvisation expert, and author of Improvise. Use the secrets of improv to achieve extraordinary results at work. He tries to break down the limited view that improv is only for people interested in theater or acting. Instead, he argues that it's a valuable skill for anyone in any field to have.
It's just pure connection with somebody else, because there is no script. Obviously, it's just you and them in the moment with an audience in front of you. You've only got each other, and you have to rely on each other, and through them, through how they react in unexpected ways, you get to access part of yourself, ideas, skills that you didn't know you had. And so that is the real thrill of it, is finding parts of you that you don't normally get to express. And it's a real freedom up there, I think.
In fact, many people already perform aspects of improvisation throughout their day. Anytime you think on your feet, lead a conversation, adjust to an evolving situation, or quickly answer an unexpected question, you're practicing the art of improv. One skill that Dickens wanted to build in particular? His confidence. Rewind 10 years back, and he was a touring stand-up comedian who got into improv because he wanted to feel more confident not only on the stage, but off it.
I was on the stand-up comedy circuit in the UK at the time, because I was a professional for 7 or 8 years, and I wanted to get into improv to learn some skills to get better at crowd work, basically, to get better off the cuff so I could host clubs and things like that and improve my career in that point of view. But the second reason was I felt that when I was on stage doing these gigs, I was in control in a way, because I had my material, I was the only one in the spotlight, I had a microphone in my hand, I was in control, and I was confident that 20 minutes every night I went up there. But then off stage, I didn't feel I had that same level of confidence. And so what I wanted was to find that confidence in some way, and improv was my way into that.
Improv comedy is really one of a kind. Each skit can lead down an unexpected path depending on the group dynamic. The troupe can choose to begin a sketch with a topic called out by the audience, or have a subject in mind to play off of. But what makes a show or troupe stand apart from all the others? Most people would assume that in order to be good at improv, you have to be extremely funny, witty, extroverted, and charismatic. However, Dickens says the most fundamental starting element is not what you'd think.
They listen incredibly well, and I call it listening with intent. So it's intent to actually show up and really listen, because often we're not listening really well. How often when you listen are you stuck in your head thinking about what you're going to say next? You're not listening, you're waiting to respond. So it's intending to listen, and then with the intent of using what you hear. So improvisers talk about the willingness to be changed. That's what listening is. I'm changed by the other person. And a lot of people think improv's about talking and being funny and clever and being really quick, and maybe there's an element of that, but you cannot respond to the other person, you cannot respond to the moment without listening really well. So it starts there.
From there, another key part is learning how to share the spotlight, since improv is a group affair. A good comparison to this is a work meeting where there are different personalities and hierarchies present. Sometimes, rather than always speaking up and leading the conversation, the most helpful role can be stepping back and letting others share their thoughts. This awareness ultimately benefits the team and improves the perception others have of you.
With the quality of your listening and the energy you're showing up with, so how you're showing up, you can change other people without talking, right? And so this is so much the value of improv, is that it's focused on others. It's others focused. And we talk about on stage being a good scene partner as being our main priority. It's not about always being the funniest. It's like my priority is to be a great scene partner. And the great thing about this is if you're someone who wants to work on confidence moving forwards, there's a great quote from improv, which is this, that if you want to get out of your head, get into something else. And that something else in improv is our scene partner, but for you it can be the person you're talking to. It can be your team. So that can give you a great resource of confidence if you're focusing on that person, focusing on making them look good, because then you'll find your anxiety alleviates.
Aside from the life skills gained, practicing improv is also a great way to relieve stress, have a laugh, and connect with others on a different level. Each participant's personality brings something unique to the character they're playing. This time spent away from the regular, mundane routines of life can sometimes kickstart an entirely different perspective.
I'm thinking about how often we respond to others in character that we're stuck in roles. And what improv's great at is giving you awareness of what your triggers are, what your buttons are, and your go-to habits in response to these buttons, so that you have more choice of playing different characters, different roles in different contexts. Because like you put yourself, that character is not suitable for every context. But even in regular relationships, maybe it's with one person at work, or I don't know, if you're having a tough time with your boyfriend, girlfriend, it's because we get trapped in these ways of being, trapped in roles we play with that person, and it gets us into trouble. And we can throw away that old script and trust ourselves to improvise and relate in that moment. We'll get a much better result.
The many benefits of improv are so wide-ranging that companies across the world are now using it as a tool during team-building activities or training workshops. Dickens is a founding member of the London-based improv company Hoopla that offers improv classes as well as corporate training. Over the years, they've worked with consulting firms, universities, and companies like Facebook and YouTube to help employees learn new skills through improv.
If you think what communication is, in a nutshell, it's an improvisational act. It's completely unscripted. You don't know what I'm going to say, or my feelings, my thoughts, my knowledge around a thing, and vice versa. I don't know what you feel, think, or know around a thing, and we're feeling our way. It's like a dance, right? It's going to be give and take. We're going to stumble. We can make that part of the dance. There's probably going to be moments of choreography, but there's going to be moments where we just follow what's there in the moment. That's what real connection is. That's what great conversations are. And you can have that with people you manage. You can have that with your clients and your customers. You can have that with your spouse and your friends. Improv is like yoga for your soft skills. So if yoga makes your body more flexible, then improv makes your communication more agile.
However, due to the pandemic, Dickens and many others in the performance business have had to adjust and rethink this in-person format. But again, Dickens says his improv skills have come in handy here in adapting to the unique situation.
One thing that's been really positive is that it's disrupted ourselves. It's broken us out of the normal. And now we have a great opportunity now we've left those old scripts behind, to do things slightly differently. And that's a real improvisation point of view.
Improv classes led by Dickens that were once in person have transitioned to online Zoom classes. Not an easy feat for an art that relies on timing, body language, and communication. But amidst the negatives, there's a silver lining to shifting online.
Because it went online, we're a London-based school and theatre. We've now been able to work with people all over the place, all over the UK and into Europe, who we never would have got in touch with. And so that, in a sense, this was something that was a real tricky moment, but again, an offer in disguise, because now the pandemic, hopefully, as we come into vaccinations and things, is coming very slowly to a halt. We're going to have a whole digital capability and way of doing things that is going to carry on for a long, long time. So it was really stressful, but we used a lot of these techniques to reinvent ourselves. And in the long run, I think we'll look back at it and see it as a serendipitous moment, a useful curveball.
The COVID-19 pandemic has forced many beloved theaters and galleries to permanently close their doors due to a prolonged gap in business. In many ways, Dickens says this hardship has highlighted just how important the arts are.
These are the things that we're going to really want to be there when we come out of this. We're really going to want to watch shows. We really want to laugh. And we're going to want to be able to do things like do workshops and connect with people. So absolutely, we need to save them and remember how much they give us.
After all the social isolation of 2020, we could all use an improv lesson or two to brush up on our communication skills and build back some confidence. To find out more about Max Dickens and the art of improvisation, pre-order his new book, Improvise. Use the secrets of improv to achieve extraordinary results at work. You can also find more resources and links to this topic and archives of all of our past shows at viewpointsradio.org. To get more behind the scenes, search Viewpoints Radio on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. This segment was written and produced by Amira Zaveri. I'm Gary Price.
As many as 89% of hospitalized COVID-19 patients are at risk of a complication called cytokine storm, a leading cause of COVID death. But there's good news. Hospitals across the U.S. are enrolling patients in a trial evaluating lenzilumab, an investigational treatment designed specifically to stop this storm, even with only 1 day of treatment. Dr. Cameron Durant, CEO of Humanigen, the company developing lenzilumab.
Having a therapeutic that can significantly reduce the time to recovery from COVID-19 and send patients home earlier could dramatically impact the arc of this pandemic.
Participating in the study means access to a potential treatment option in addition to standard of care therapies. Trial participant Mark Baranski shares his experience.
I don't know if I received lenzilumab or not, but I viewed the trial as doing everything I could for my recovery while contributing to the fight against COVID-19. I certainly encourage others to do the same.
To learn more and find this trial near you, visit StopStorm.com. That's StopStorm.com.
And that's Viewpoints for this week. Viewpoints is a production of MediaTrax Communications. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram to learn more about upcoming shows and find a library of past programs on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Spotify. Plus, you'll always find previous segments and more information about our guests at viewpointsradio.org. Join us again next week for another edition of Viewpoints.
Coming up on Viewpoints.
My genetics showed a very high sort of association with violence, aggression, and low interpersonal empathy. And those two biological markers then set me on a quest.
Exploring what we do and don't understand about psychopaths. Then,
people think of a black hole as a very dense object, but a black hole is actually not an object at all. It's more like a place.
The fascinating science behind black holes. I'm Marty Peterson.
and I'm Gary Price. These stories in depth on your public affairs magazine, Viewpoints.